Let's bring in an additional guest here, certainly a voice familiar to KFAX listeners, a good friend. Of course, he is the host of Phil's Gang, heard Monday through Friday at 12 noon and at 9 p.m. on our sister station, AM 1220, Business Radio 1220, KDOW. He's Phil Grande, who is live in Washington, D.C. Phil, welcome to the conversation. First, give us some perspective. You were there today. You were in the audience. You had a chance to hear the president deliver his inaugural address. What are your thoughts?
Well, it was the equivalent today. I thought it was the equivalent of a political enema after 8 years of being politically constipated with the influence of Bill Ayers and Marshall Davis and Saul Alinsky and the rest of them. And it's totally, when you look on TV, it's totally different being here live on the ground than what you see in TV. There's about 1,000 of these anti-American anarchists who are, burning a limousine. I stood right there. They're burning up a limousine. They're busting the windows with rocks. But there's only 1,000 of them. And the rest are really just peaceful, with their signs. But the press doesn't follow them. The press follows these thousands. And the cops have done a great job. They've been, using, these bombs all day long, these pressure grenades, they call them, when they're throwing rocks. But this is a small segment. It's a real small segment. And what's really interesting, which they don't report, is when you talk to the Democrats, people who are here who they came for the inauguration, and they're not happy. They're not happy at all with the 60-plus Democrats because, they look at it as, hey, I want everybody to get along. I want everybody to be peaceful. I want to get something done here. And they're not happy. And these 60, from what I gather from all the other Democrats here, those 60 are going to, suffer at some point. Because it's not about the party. It's not about Trump. I mean, that's their feeling. It's about a sacrament of a peaceful transition of peace. And they're angry. They're angry these guys, are doing this. And it's just, you don't see it, Craig. You don't see it when you look at the TV. Total different perspective. And these thousands, forget trying to talk with them. You can't talk with them. They're psychotic. They're just, they're nuts.
What is your sense, Phil, in terms of the lines of division being drawn? And I had posed this question earlier this evening to Joyce Cordy from Reimagine America. The sense that the election over these many months has been characterized as being the most divisive in history, that there is a broader gap between liberal, conservative, red state, blue state, Republican, Democrat than we've ever seen in our nation. Yet I found in listening to his address here today in San Francisco that the battle lines that are being drawn, at least by the president in his inaugural address, is not necessarily setting up the lines of demarcation between Democrats and Republicans, but rather he's taking aim and basically saying to the United States Congress, to everybody on the dais behind him, you guys are the enemy, and I'm rallying the troops, and there are 350 million people out there that are not very happy with the job that's been done by the 435 characters that haven't been getting the job done here in this country over the last probably 40 years. What do you think?
Yeah, and being here, it's true. I mean, what he's saying is, look, I don't care if you're a Democrat. I don't care if you're an independent. I don't care if you're Republican. I'm here to do a job. I was elected. I know what's going on, and I'm going to do my job. And if I'm hurting your feelings, too bad. I mean, sitting behind him, it was interesting watching, George Bush. And I mean, he took a shot at everybody today. But he was just being honest. I mean, that's what we love about him. He just comes on and says what he thinks, what's in his heart, and that's what's refreshing.
How would you think that Wall Street, you're an expert in this arena, you watch these numbers with greater detail than anyone I know. How do you think Wall Street is responding to all of this? How will they respond tomorrow? He talked about enriching foreign industry at the expense of U.S. industry. He talked about spending trillions of dollars overseas while our own infrastructure here in America decays. He also talked about the fact that the quote, wealth of middle America has been ripped away. How does Wall Street respond to this?
Like they always do. They go towards the greed to make money. I mean, that's how nothing's going to change. Wall Street right now, there's a lot of the money is sitting back, and they just want to see what he is actually going to do. I mean, they're confused. They're not sure. They've been taking money out of the market. It's on the sideline, and they just not sure. They want to see what he's going to do in his first 100 days. We got a lot of people in the market who made a lot of money, but they're not cashing out because they want to see what his tax cuts are going to be. As far as what's going to happen, we're going to have probably about a 20-30% correction. I would say midsummer or maybe July, because he's not going to be able to get done what he'll get done what he wants, but not in the time frame that everybody's expecting it. They're just expectations are too high, and it all comes back to earnings. You can't have a stock market with all these stock buybacks, and you got stocks that are 15, 20 times ahead of earnings, and that's got to be corrected. Trump knows that. I've had a discussion with Trump several times when he comes to Sarasota, and he understands that. And this market's going to correct, and he's not going to sit back this time. And when it starts correcting, he's going to let it correct. He's going to let a recession happen. He's going to let capitalism work. He's not going to bail out the banks this time. He knows what's wrong. You can't keep sitting here bailing these banks up, keep printing money. And so to answer your question, the big money's really, they don't know what to do right now. They're really confused, but they know they're not going to rely on, they're not going to get what they've been getting in the past. They're not going to get bailouts, and he may just let the recessions happen. Because when I talked with him in Sarasota, he said recessions are good, and he's right. Corrections in the market are good. You got to have corrections in the market. You can't have a Ford PE of 17 on the S&P. You got to correct these markets, and that's him, and that's what he's going to do. So I don't think he's going to do another QE. Everybody say, well, he's going to do a QE. That's foolish, because if he does a QE, we're not going to get the percentage of gain that we did the first one, where every time he did a QE, where it's 1, 2, or 3, he was getting an 80% gain or a 30% gain. That's not going to happen. He knows that. I don't think he's going to do a QE.
And moreover, I think he's smart enough of a businessman to understand that, as we have done in the past, just printing money, that might stave off a temporary implosion of the economy. But in the long run, taking us from $10 trillion to $20 trillion debt, at some point that's going to have to be paid back. Or if we do see a slow rise in interest rates, maybe you can pay the interest on $20 trillion when interest rates are at 50 or 75 basis points. But you go back to reality, where normally 3-4%, the entire economy then implodes. There is Phil Grande, host of Phil's Gang on our sister station AM 1220 KDOW, joining us live from Washington, D.C.